James Green, Short Series Shenanigans. Alright, part number 2, guys and gals. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys. So, good luck on the other head. We were able to get it out. Didn't have to worry about doing a helicoil or anything. What I did was, I was showing you guys the left-hand bits. Alright, we started out, because it's a 3/8/16, I started out 2 sizes below. So the actual tap size for a 3/8/16 would be a 5/16. So I started 2 sizes below that. I started 1/4 inch, went through, and you guys saw that on camera. I was centered up, which is really, really good. So the bolt was actually broke off flush with the back side of the through area on the head. The next size I went ahead and stepped up, and this was off camera, but I'll tell you, that's why I was going slow, and you saw me just light pressure, and we're running 80 RPM, left hand, reverse, so that way if it grabbed, I could easily just pull it up. You don't want to be spinning really fast, and you just slow and steady is your friend. These are M7 bits, they work great. Went to the 9/32, which is the next size up, got in there, got about halfway down, all of a sudden it grabbed, and I was able to just pull the remainder of the threads out. Outstanding. So we just ran a tap through it, worked great. So Drill Hog, they're on eBay and Amazon. Lifetime warranty on their stuff, guys and gals. I talk about it all the time. You can actually email them, drillhog@gmail.com, or there's a address in there that you can, if you want to send and warranty your bits. Get the card out, it's stuck. Actually, let me grab one of these others real quick and show you, because I've got a few of their cards in my deal over here. So, the address. If you want to write them, have any questions, or you want to warranty your stuff for replacement bits, mail to. Alright, now, I have a lot of people ask, they're like, how come they don't have their own website? Well, think about it. They've got eBay. They've got Amazon. In today's market, if you cannot spend money on a website, it allows you to provide a better product at a lower cost and able to warranty items. Who else do you know of that warranties their stuff? I've busted stuff that was just, you know, my fault. They've warranted it, no questions asked. Great, phenomenal stuff. I'm a big fan of doing it on eBay, and they too are a Summer Bash sponsor. So again, Summer Bash coming up this summer. All roads lead to Bar Z. That's what's going on. So I wanted to show you guys and gals, and I started doing it, and in the middle of moving the camera around, I hit the stop button. I don't like to edit stuff together, so I'm starting over, showing you guys. I unbolted the other head. So what we talked about was, in the other video, was tap it before you torque it. So I've already removed the other head. It's down here. And so I was in the process of showing you guys, and I went to move the camera and stopped it. But what we did was actually because we're going to have to fly cut this head, and I'll show you real quick. And the reason we're going to have to fly cut the exhaust sides, and it's real hard to see on camera, but up here and on these, I was trying to do it the other time, but it didn't shut very good. So up here, because typically this is where you have the gunk and the grime that ends up the way the manifold sits, it actually holds garbage and grime up here. And the way the manifold is actually large, it allows exhaust to come up here and actually eat away at the cast. Now, there's areas that the other head was really bad, that's pitted, and that's the one that had the broke item in it. So we're going to fly cut this one as well, but before we did, we wanted to check. Now I've thrown a straight edge across here, we're fine. You can throw a straight edge across here, and I know it's not flat, and I'm going to show you, and that's what I was so we'll do the rock test, and it's clean, and you can sit there and go, and you can hear it. Now you throw a straight edge across that, unless you know where that high spot is, you're not going to find it. And this is when I was trying to demonstrate to you guys, and I accidentally bumped the off button, but I'll bring you back over here and show you. Okay, so this is another use for Dykem. You can use a Sharpie marker, but it'd take a really long time. So typically what guys will do is they'll buy a can of this and they'll start using it, and they'll have it for 5 or 6 years and it'll dry out and get nasty. I use this stuff all the time. So you can take Dykem, you put it on here, just paint it on, take an air hose and you can blow dry it and get it dry. We flipped it over and then I rubbed it around on my mill table just a little bit, real gentle. And you can see where the high spots are, and I'm going to show you how to take them off. Okay, you can see right here. I don't want to mess with the camera like I did last time and accidentally shut off, but you can see the high spots. So even though you could throw a straight edge across there, and you probably, unless you were up here, and it can vary, but there's actually a high spot because we just flipped it over, rubbed it around, flipped it back over. There's a high spot here, here, right in through here, and here. Typically on these FE heads, what I've run across, and it's almost every single one of them I've ever, because some guys on any intake, any head that's older vintage, 60, 50, 60, 70s, whatever, you don't want to change the whole deck height, but you want to make sure you get rid of any high spots. So this is something I'm always talking about. That old millwright showed me a trick using, you know, Dykem to find your high spot. All we're going to do is go in with a, we're not going to set up a fly cut or anything. We're actually going to use, because it's just a couple of small spots, and I have them. There it is. Okay, so you can get these from Empire Abrasives. These are actually, these are phenomenal for doing stuff like this. They're very open. You go to buy these at your local hardware store downtown. They may have them. They're expensive. Get them from Empire Abrasives. They have them in different sizes. They have them in smaller, larger. I'll use the big one for this. They're great for removing powder coatings or paint on aluminum or stuff like that because they won't load up. They will remove metal very lightly, and they're not harsh. And they're very stiff. So we're going to hook it up, we're going to put some air on it, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and we're going to go back and I'll just, so instead of having to do all this other stuff, because we just want to pull some high spots down to make sure we're good to go, put a little oil in there. Alright, so this is one way you can do to exhaust manifolds to find your high spots. You don't have to use a straight edge. So we've got a machine surface here, we've got this, we can figure it out. You can even do, to even find high spots, if you have a lot of sandpaper and you have a big flat area that's big enough, you can lay it down and you can do that. But this is another way you can see it really well. We're just going to come in here with this, and let me grab my face shield, because I do not want stuff to accidentally get in my eyes. So I will show you guys what we got going on here. All right. Now, this isn't like running sandpaper that's going to take a lot off. It takes a lot for this to actually pull a lot of material. You can do it, but you have to really work at it, which is nice because we just want to massage the high spots away, and I'll show you. Well, you'll see. So, just so you know, so this turns this way. So when I'm coming here, I want to come this way and down. Because if you do it the other way, and let's say come like this, you'll actually shred. So anytime you're using these, if you are coming to an edge, and the way this turns, you don't want to come against like this edge here. You notice I came in back like this because it's spinning. Let's say I was going to do this edge over here, and so you don't want to do like that because that's creating it and you're going to literally chew it away really quick. So if you had to do on this edge because it's turning, you actually want to come in here and it's turning like this. So it's actually challenging. It's real easy. So it's turning like this. Instead of this edge, you just rotate it this way and we're turning here. So that way you're not cutting away your that's how it makes these last longer. A lot of people don't know it. They're like, man, they shred so quick. Well, if you come in here like this, it's going to cut it away. But if you're turning, you just tilt it over and go like that, it'll last longer. Alright, so I know it, we got a little right, let me do these real quick. Alright, I know it takes a lot for this to eat something off, so that's not a big deal. Now if you were to use the sandpaper ones, you would chew a lot of material off. They're really quick. So those are actually really forgiving for doing stuff like this. Now, you could use the Scotch-Brite ones, but those just, they don't have enough bite. Those open ones that I just showed you, those work really good. So let's take some, we'll reapply the Dicam here to the areas that we just, you know. And again, this is the type of stuff, man, guys have been doing stuff like this for a long time. You just want to find the high spots to get rid of them. We're not worried about, you know, a lot of this the gasket's going to fix, but I wanted to get rid of those little high spots so I know when I lay this down or when things go to match up, which all around the intake ports I've already laid straight edges across these and they're good to go. So there's no worries there on any of that. And before I get done, all this will be cleaned off anyway. So come back with your air hose, okay, and just at a very high. You want to be real easy, don't splatter this stuff everywhere. And this is another reason to have denatured alcohol. This stuff cleans up easy with denatured alcohol. Good to go. Alright. Now all we're going to do is we're going to flip this over and rub it. Now we know our table's clean because we blown it off a while ago. Whoop. There we go. My wrist is giving me trouble. We just rub it around. And all we're going to do is find the high spots. It doesn't take a whole lot. And I notice now versus before, it's really like hard to move because we're going to have a lot of areas that have contact now. Before we just had those high areas I showed you. So it's harder to move. And now we do have a little bit of rock, but it's very minute. Actually, it's gone. Yep. Yeah, it's gone. We'll flip this back over. There we go. So We still have some minor high spots, but that's fine. We want it to be overall generally flat. Now you can see now we've got little high spots everywhere, which is okay. Nothing that's sticking out here is going to, you know, when you have it in just one or two areas and it's still a little high right here, which is fine. It's not a showstopper. You know, that'll fix the gasket stuff. But I basically wanted to show you the method and process of how do you find the high spots that may be an area. Typically, and I see it a lot, on the end, and you can see it here where the bolts go in, because they pull, is they'll swell the casting. So typically what I'll do is I'll come in here, and I will do it, is I'll remove this to run, you know, so it's not so much of a high spot. So when you go to set your intake down, you know, you can go through, and that's without having to do a lot of machining and whatever. You find your high spots, which nothing that you see here is a showstopper, because now we have high spots everywhere, which is what we want. That's going to be taken up with a gasket. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat, because we're not working with a surface to surface fit. We have a gasket, and that's what gaskets are for. It allows for error in working with cast items. Set my deal back over there. All right, so that was just a way of, you want to find a high spot on something, whether it's an old water pump or something that's, you know, a very unique backyard, garage, guru, old school way of find the high spots, get rid of just the little high spots instead of machining the whole thing. You don't need it, because when you start machining the intake surface decks or the deck heights on the heads, then you change the geometry of how the intake is going to fit, and we don't even want to get into that with this. This is just a basic, generic, get everything cleaned up, inspected, good to go. And that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to do setup and do some fly cut, you know, fly cut this. That was the general ideas. I kind of wanted to show you guys how to find those. And then you can come back real easy with denatured alcohol. I love these sprayers. You can pick these up, and then that one, you mark it. I'm going to get this stuff off here. Clean it all off. And this head's going to get run through the washer and get all the carbon and everything cleaned out. So it'll get pressure washed, and all this will be removed. That's just to find out where are the high spots, where are the areas. Yeah, if you start messing around with, well, just run a fly cutter across it, and then you're going to have to figure out and set your intake in. Well, how much did I take off, and how much do I got to take off? And then you start messing around with the angle of the intake, and you got to take off the bottom, and you really create a myriad of problems really, really, really fast. That's why if you have an area that's high, you want to get rid of just that little high area. Do like I did. You can go back until all this, it's kind of like scraping in a way, if you will. You don't get everything's perfectly smooth because we have a gasket, but you have the one or two high spots. You saw where it was rocking and it went away. Now we're contacted several, which is fine. I just did that so whenever I went to go set up, which I had to raise everything up, so if I wanted to set up on my mill table and flip it over instead of just doing standoffs like what I had to do because I didn't have enough room, or it wouldn't come down far enough, that way when you fasten it down to your table, you're not rocking and everything is even and level. But for what it's doing, it's going to work fine. That method right there has been, I know he showed me when I was a kid that, and he was showed that when he was a very young man. That's how you take cast items, you know, pump housings or whatever. You want to find the high spot. Like I said, if you want to buy a cheap import granite block, that's what they're good for. Take tack adhesive, spray, put your sandpaper down, and then you can lap something in. Again, if you don't and you just have something like this, you can do exactly like what I did. Put the Dicom on there, let it dry, run it around. You know, carburetor housings on the old Zenith updraft carburetors that are always getting warped, because sometimes just throwing a straight edge, it's hard to tell because it might be at those points, but you need a big area. Throw it down, you know, or even put your little piece of sandpaper, and that's how you get it fine tune. If you have a small piece, just take sandpaper and make figure eights, you know, tack adhesive down. I've got some granite plates I use just that for. They're old import ones. I'll glue sandpaper down, tack adhesive, and when you go to pull your sand, it comes up really easily. You can use, again, carb cleaner, denatured alcohol, mineral spirits, and you just take a razor blade, you take a razor knife like this, and it'll pull that, and then to clean the granite off, denatured alcohol, that adhesive comes right up, acetone, clean it up, slap another piece down, and you can just, you know, get your piece tightened in, because typically on cast iron items, and you saw it there around the bolt holes, they tend to pull up because that's where pressure is from everything being tightened. So there you go. That's another neat trick I wanted to show you guys and gals. Thumbs up. Thank you for watching. Spread the word about the channel. Again, description box, all industrial tool supply, you guys. They've got the Dicom. They've got all the neat stuff. Anything you need, call Jim Henry and Jeff Perry. Show them some love. Show them some machining community love there. And as well as American Rotary, Big Gator Tools, and Empire Abrasives. That's where I get these from. They have them in different sizes, from big down to little bitty 2-inch. These are 3-inch. I use them all the time, and they're great. They are pricey, but they hold up. These hold. I've purchased the ones at the local hardware stores, and the big name brand with the CGW name brand, they don't hold up as well. These do. They hold up a lot better. I don't know what they're made out of, but they are awesome. They work great. Especially on materials like this, you want a gasket material. Unlike running the sandpaper, because if you run, which I have the small, you know, they have these in this size too, but this is like 120 grit. That's zirconia. That will get with it and take too much material off. But you just, and plus it loads up if you have paint or something. These are great for pulling off like powder coatings, and you want to pull the rust off of something without damaging it. These are the way to go. They will not, again, you just gotta, like what I talked about, be cognizant of whichever way it's going so you don't eat it up. They'll last a really long time, and you really have to work to get them to remove any material. They will, but they're very forgiving. Versus sandpaper, you'll get in trouble really quick and create some grooves or gouges that you don't want. But these, if you want to remove casting marks, which I have on these heads, some areas that the sprue that was sticking out and razor sharp, serve no purpose except maybe bust your knuckle when you're changing spark plugs, pulled them off with that. Zzz, smoothed them up. So there you go. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If it's useful, comment below. Constructive comments or encourage you guys and gals. I love it. EagleDustOff37@gmail.com is my public email address if you guys have any questions. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at EagleDustOff37. Typically on Facebook Live, I'll do like the mundane stuff that you see, or at times, like some of my viewers got to experience, the behind the scenes stuff. That's generally when I'll do it, and those videos don't stay up. So if you don't friend me on Facebook, you don't know, tune in. It's live and unedited, unlike here on YouTube. We got to keep a PG rating and G rating because everybody watches it. But I'll generally show the mundane stuff, and that's a chance to do. I love doing question and answer stuff and what we got going on, and again, if you guys have any questions about anything that's going on, that's the time to ask them. So there you go. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope this has been useful in explaining a different way of doing things. I know I always learned a lesson, tap it before you torque it. That lesson has stuck with me, and I hope it's beneficial to you. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of your family, because remember, at the end of the day, you and your family is all you got. Till next time, remember, size matters. Get out in the shop, have some fun. Go show Empire Abrasives some love. Order you up, they got all sorts of neat stuff. Tell them, talk to Joe G and tell him I sent you, and he might have a surprise for you. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.